Hey guys, Mike here with a big heart, and today I'm going to talk to you about the fear of dying I had after coming home from the hospital after I suffered sudden cardiac arrest. When I was in the hospital after my sudden cardiac arrest, I had a ton of feelings of being very anxious, and I had a ton of questions because I really wasn't sure what was going on. And one of the things I don't think I understood the value of was having a medical professional accessible 24 hours a day. Right? I had nurses, I had doctors. If I pressed a button on the little remote that was attached to my bed, a nurse would be there within seconds, and I could ask her a question, or if something was beeping, they would come in and make sure the beeping stopped, or if I didn't feel right, or if I had a question about a surgery, or if I was worried about cardiac arrest. I just had access to someone answering those questions for me at all times. And there were a lot of them because this was so new for my family and me. And we just wanted everything answered. We just wanted to feel better about everything that was going on. And I don't think I understood the value of that until I actually went home from the hospital. One of the conversations I had with my cardiologist early on was kind of about what is sudden cardiac arrest, who does it affect, how does it affect people, when does it happen? And I remember her telling me that yes, it affects people during extreme exercise or different strenuous activity, but it also could happen at any time, including it happens to people in their sleep. And this was a conversation that just kind of stuck in my head. And when I got discharged from the hospital, one of my nurses actually made me a certificate that said most informed patient because I think of the amount of questions that I asked in my time there. But I remember being very excited. I could not wait to go home. I wanted to sleep in my bed. I wanted to have visitors come to our house. I wanted to not eat hospital food. I just wanted to kind of get back to living a normal life. So it was a pretty surreal drive, leaving the hospital, going home. It was about a 40-minute drive. But when we pulled down that driveway, went into the garage, went from the garage to the basement, which we called our sports room, those feelings of excitement and relief suddenly changed. They suddenly became feelings of fear and anxiety because I no longer had medical professionals around me 24 hours a day. And I love my parents to death, but they are not medical professionals, and at the time we were not trained in CPR and how to use an AED. So I was worried that if something happens or if I don't feel right, who's going to answer my questions? What if there's an emergency? Who's going to help save my life? And it was an adjustment going from having these people that would be by my side instantly that would make me feel better to not having those people anymore. And later that night, it was my first night home. We were sitting at the dinner table, and we had people that were sending my family dinner so my parents didn't have to cook, which was great. We had a ton of support from our local community. But I remember sitting there, and all of a sudden I had this fear that I was going to die in my sleep. I thought that I was going to go to bed that night, I was going to go into cardiac arrest again, my defibrillator was not going to work, and I was never going to wake up. And I remember convincing myself that if this happens, it's okay. I'm not even going to know the difference. Which is a really awful thought for a 17-year-old kid to have, being okay with just dying in their sleep. But I didn't want that to happen. Our family had been through so much. So I forced myself to stay up, and I forced myself not to go to sleep for a while because I didn't want something to happen when someone was not watching me. So, this fear of dying is something that I lived with for a period of time after my sudden cardiac arrest. And I want to talk a little bit how I got over that fear. And I think the first thing is really learning how to trust my doctors. Doctors are brilliant people that study cardiac arrest, study disease, and they know more about it than anybody. And learning to trust them, and if they were comfortable sending me home, knowing that I should feel comfortable being home. If they felt I was safe, I should feel safe. And once I was able to trust my doctors more, I think it helped me get over that fear of dying. Another story that I want to tell, years later, I've done a ton of speaking and have had the opportunity to speak at many different medical conferences about my journey, living with heart disease, surviving cardiac arrest, being a patient. And I remember I told this exact story, the story where I was afraid to go to sleep. and there was an electrophysiologist who was the moderator of my talk. And after I finished, they did a question and answer, and she said that as a doctor, that when she puts an ICD in a patient, she actually sleeps better at night because she now knows that that patient is safe. And she found it ironic that I was actually afraid to sleep at night when she thought that my doctor was probably sleeping better, knowing that I was home with an ICD, living my life safely. And it was just a conversation and a statement that I'll never forget, because it just had a huge impact, and really how these physicians really trust these devices, and how they can allow patients like myself that go into cardiac arrest and have to live hopefully 70 or 80 years with heart disease, that normal life, and be able to do it safely because of the ICD. So if you're a patient out there and you've been newly diagnosed, you've gone into cardiac arrest, or whatever it is, we all have fears. And I think the most important thing, like I said before, is number one, trust your doctor, listen to your doctor, do what your doctor says, but know your doctor is going to do everything to put you in a safe environment. If there's real fears that something's going to happen, most likely they're not even going to let you leave the hospital. They're not going to send you home until they're confident that you can safely live your life. And I think that's really important. The other thing is just to be patient. I think it's really normal for people that are newly diagnosed with heart disease to be nervous, to be anxious, and they want these feelings to just go away so they can get back to living their life, but it takes time. Don't expect them to go away overnight. Be patient, enjoy the process, and just know that you're going to get back to living that life very normally as soon as possible, and those feelings of fear are going to go away. So, again, when I was 17 years old, which was a long time ago now, 16 years, I was afraid that I was going to die in my sleep. But between my doctor and me starting to trust them, my medical team, and trust my defibrillator, I'm happy to say I'm completely past that fear. And if you have it, you can get past it too.